Laura, the on-air blinked on and off. Okay, we're on.
We're good?
We're good.
Okay. I would like to welcome everybody to the April meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Niskayuna. My name is Keith Frary. I'm the chair of the board. I'm coming to you, unfortunately, from Binghamton. I'd rather be with you. Linda, can we call the roll?
Mr. Hoke,
Here.
Mr. Latif,
Here.
Mr. Stein,
Here.
Ms. Pacheco,
Here.
Mr. Green,
Here.
Mr. Antonikowski.
Here.
Chairperson Frary.
Here. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from the March 15th, 2023 meeting. I would ask if we have any changes, corrections to those minutes. Hearing none, I would ask for a motion.
I'll
Mis-
motion.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Linda, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Hoke,
Yes.
Mr. Latif,
Yes.
Mr. Stein,
Abstain.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Antonikowski.
Abstain.
Chairperson Frary.
Yes. I would welcome those people who are with us tonight. When your case is called, we're going to ask you to, if you're virtual or online, to unmute and join us. If you're there in person, we'll ask you to come to the podium, provide your name, address. Please advise us when you come up if for some reason you are represented by counsel tonight. Please let us know that as well. This meeting's being recorded, so make sure that you use the mic that's available to you. Explain your variance request and any efforts that you've made to minimize the need for a variance. Please understand that the Zoning Board of Appeals by statute has a criteria that we must analyze each variance request. And so some of the questions may seem a little odd or unusual, but the questions that we're asking are geared to our legal criteria. So if you have any confusion or questions, make sure and let us know. We'll do our best to keep the process open and clarify any issues to you. Linda, can you please call the first case?
Appeal by Tara Forshaw for a variance from section 220-18B3C of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskayuna as it applies to the property at 204 Park Ridge Drive, Niskayuna, New York, located in the R2 medium density residential zoning district, to maintain an 8-foot by 8-foot shed partially within the side and rear yard setbacks. Section 220-18B3C states that minor accessory structures, which are defined as structures 120 square feet in area or less, are not permitted closer than 5 feet to the side and rear lot lines. As constructed, the shed is located 4 feet 10 inches from the side lot line and 2 feet 3 inches from the rear lot line. Thus, a 2-inch side yard setback variance and a 2-foot 9-inch rear yard setback variance are required. 10 letters were mailed out, 0 replies.
Is the applicant with us tonight?
My name is Tara Forshaw. This is my husband, Jason Benoit. We're the property owners.
Okay, could you give us a little bit of an idea what your request is and any special issues that have come up?
Sure. Can you hear me?
I absolutely can.
All right. So we contracted with Lowe's to put in a fence and a shed. And there were numerous issues from the get-go with this. And the installer who put the shed in contacted the city of Schenectady because we're literally right on the back end of Schenectady and Niskayuna, and also reached out to the town of Rotterdam. I have no idea why. And when he didn't get a response, rather than let us know that that's what he did, he just contacted us to say, lay out where you want the shed to go. So I didn't think there were any issues with where it was supposed to be. Because I paid for a permit fee that was part of the payment, part of the process. So I assumed all of that was taken care of. So we, got the ground ready where we wanted the shed. We put drainage rock down and just leveled it a little bit. But we couldn't put it on the left side because there is a really rather large significant slope that goes through the property from right to left. So for obvious reasons, we would have had to grade on the left side, and that would have created water issues for our neighbor to the left of us, not to mention the financial cost of that. So that wasn't a viable option for us. It didn't seem to be a smart solution for us. So we chose the right side of the yard. There is a rather large tree there. So we put the shed where we could still open up the doors and utilize the shed and not have to remove the tree or, conflict with the root system that is there. So basically,
Ms.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead, Ms. Forshaw.
basically that's where we're at. We actually had to reach out to the Heartland Shed Company numerous times to eventually get the information that they never got the permit, never really requested it. When that information was finally learned, that's when we kept pushing for a permit to be requested. And that's why we're here at this point, because I didn't want to not have it legitimate.
Ms. Forshaw, the shed is up, correct?
That's correct.
And was it Lowe's that actually put the shed up?
So
Or did
look-
they subcontract it out to
subcon-
someone?
Subcontract.
And who was it that actually put it up?
It's Heartland Sheds, but they actually, I guess it's a subcontractor of a subcontractor, I guess you could say. I
Okay.
don't know the individual, the actual person who installed it. I don't remember his name.
Do you know, was it somebody local?
No.
Local meaning Niskayuna or Schenectady County?
No.
Okay.
Well,
You indicated that the back yard, I saw the map and I saw the tree. If I'm standing with my back to your house, it slopes. How does it slope down? Is it slope the highest point where the shed is or the opposite
yes,
side?
that's correct. The highest point where the shed is.
Okay. And the neighbor that you would have had drainage problems if you moved it to the left side, is that the next door neighbor?
To the left, correct.
Okay. All right. Other questions by the board?
Ms. Forshaw, have any of the neighbors complained about the placement of the shed?
No.
I see on the application that's attached to the variance request that the applicant is Backyard Products LLC, and the person that signed the application is Christopher Wyant. Is that the person? Does that ring a bell?
It must be, but it doesn't ring a bell.
So I do see an application here.
I want to say backyard fence company.
Okay, but I see the application. Was this application submitted after the shed was up, or?
Yes.
That's when we got involved, because we didn't want, they tried to do it with the fence permit and tried to get it through. And that's when we got involved. We said we didn't want that because we knew it wasn't legitimate. And we said we wanted them to pull that off, so we got our fence installed, and then we said we would go and try to figure out the shed. Because we knew at that point they were playing back and forth. They actually stopped talking to us for a while and said, we have to speak to our legal. And at that point, we knew obviously something wasn't there. Because for probably a month and a half, they told us they did have a permit, because we kept requesting to get it when we were trying to do when we came here for the fence variance. That's when we realized that something was wrong with that. We didn't have a permit when we requested it from them.
Okay. So this application was submitted at your request, and then they went and submitted the application.
Mhm.
Okay.
Laura, how did this come before us?
Chairman, Our records show that when we were doing an inspection for solar on the property, that we noticed the shed without a permit, and an application was submitted within a month and a half of that notification.
And what was the time difference between the inspection for solar and the time that the shed was put up? Do we know that?
When was the inspection for the solar?
Yeah, we don't know that. The inspection for the solar was November of 2022.
So
And
the
when
shed-
was the shed actually put up, Ms. Forshaw?
July.
Okay. Other questions by the board?
Yes, Chairman, I have a few questions for the applicant. Ms. Forshaw, can you describe to us, relative to the fence that was installed where the shed is sitting, is the fence particularly on the property line, or is the,
It's actually in on our property because there's a swell in the back of our property and we were told not to alter it. So we actually moved the fence in A little bit
probably
late.
Maybe 6 inches. It would've
just
been-
to be sure that, because we had already been here for the variance for the fence. So we wanted to be sure that this was going to go smoothly.
okay, so in the map that was provided as part of the application, that 27 inches that's shown is from the shed to the fence, but not the property line.
Correct.
So the property line is further, 27 inches being 2'3". And then on the right-hand side, to the neighbor on the right-hand side, well, to the fence, it shows 58 inches. And that's where you're much closer to, that's closer to being on the property line?
That is.
Or that's
probably the
right at the
line.
property line?
That fence was existing, that side was existing. My neighbor put that up, actually the person who owned the house prior to the neighbor that owns it now. So I'm assuming it's on the property line.
Okay, and a couple other questions related to the placement of the shed when you were doing it and looking. I believe in the application, there was mention of a sprinkler system in the ground. Can you talk about the extent of that, please?
So that was put in when the house was purchased. So we had to kind of figure out where the shed could go, where it wasn't going to damage, the existing sprinkler system, the root system that was there, plus be able to open up the doors and actually physically utilize our shed, get our lawnmower out, our snow blower out, be able to open up the door in order to do that because that tree is existing in the way.
Okay, and one more question that's more germane to the previous permit fees that you paid for. I'm hoping that you got those refunded if they went to the wrong place.
And
We're still in,
Going back and forth with
Yeah.
those, 'cause we've had multiple-
we're having issues with the fence too.
Oh.
About 2 weeks ago, it wasn't installed properly, so it flexed and the top rail blew off and all the boards flew into the backyard. So luckily our dogs were not out because they would have definitely, taken a field trip. So
Thank you.
Any other questions by the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, couple questions.
Professor Latife, you are
Thank you.
acknowledged.
The shed is already placed. There's already a problem because the tree is very close to the shed, but you managed to put it back a little bit so you can open the doors. And if you moved it to the left a little bit, then you have an issue with slope and you have an issue with a sprinkler system. So to your knowledge, and this is the best spot on your property
Yeah.
to put that shed.
yes.
Okay, now, the fence that you have in the back, I would take it, it's a 6 feet fence?
Yes.
So tell me, if somebody's driving down the road, can they see the shed?
So the part that you would actually physically be able to see probably with your eye, because you're not going to notice 2 inches from the front, because the 2-inch variance is if you were staring at the property, but the 2 foot 9-inch variance that's needed for the back, is only visible from two spots, and you would literally have to stop the car, look for it.
So you have to
know it's
stop
there.
to be able to
Yeah.
really look. Okay.
Mhm.
And tell me about the neighbor to your right. I know you talked about the left, it would have been a problem and so on. How about describe the neighbor to the right and have you talked to them?
She does not care what we do. When I actually asked her about the fence, because we were contemplating tying into her fence, just to make it secure for the dogs, she said, do what you have to do. I don't care. So
Okay.
she doesn't care about that.
And how long have you guys lived in this house?
We moved in July of 21.
Oh, 21. Did they have a shed before in there
They
or
do not
anything?
have a shed,
They didn't
but they
have a
had the
shed.
fence.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Anyone else that would like to weigh in?
If I may, just I'm curious about the tree. Could you describe?
Please, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you describe the tree for me? What kind of tree is it? How tall is it?
It's extremely tall. I don't even know how. It's a very mature tree.
What
It's
kind?
One of,
It's over the top of our house.
Yeah.
Sure.
for sure.
Yeah.
What
What kind?
sycamore maybe?
Okay.
I'm not, actually, I'm not 100% sure. It's not maple. Actually, I like it because it's not maple. And it's actually probably one of the only 5 trees that are in the cul-de-sac that are mature, that don't flex like they're gonna fall over when the wind blows.
Yeah,
So it's a
but-
healthy tree.
yeah, does the tree lend to the beauty of the backyard?
Yes. I don't want to get rid of that tree. I really can't afford to get rid of the tree, but I really like the aesthetic of the tree.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Anyone else who wishes to be heard?
I would like to, Chair.
Please.
Do you have neighbors behind you?
Yes.
Okay. So are they, do they have a fence behind them as well? Because I know you mentioned there was a,
That would be us. There's 6 properties.
Okay.
In the middle of the cul-de-sac. We're in the middle.
gotcha. Okay. And have you spoken to them at all about the fence or the
They-
shed?
Other than just saying hi, they've not said that they had any issues with it. And actually, I don't think it's, the way the property line goes, it's not equal segmented. So the person who is actually on the corner over here, their line cuts in, so they're actually the ones that I share the property line with, where the shed is.
Have you spoken to them at all?
Yes, they're very friendly. He actually purchased the house. He actually sought me out when I was walking my dogs one day to ask me how I liked the neighborhood and what I thought of it. And he later ended up purchasing the home after speaking with me.
It's great. Did you speak to them specifically about the shed?
No.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to be heard? Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this appeal? All righty, hearing none, I'm going to ask anyone that is interested in making a motion to please identify yourself because I can't really tell who it is. And also please note that there are 2 variances at issue. So if you're going to make a motion, let us know if you're dealing with one or both. Is there any motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion for both,
Mr. Le-
for both variances.
Type.
Uh, The motion I'm going to make a motion to approve it based on the benefit. It cannot be achieved by other means. It looks like the applicant looked on ways to put it in the middle, but unfortunately, they have a unique property. And due to the property tilting down to the left, so they chose to put it to the right, and that's the best way to make it feasible for the applicant. Does it cause any undesirable change in the neighborhood? It seems to be we have not got any complaint from any neighbors. Very barely you could see the shed from the road. You have to really make a quick stop and look, and I don't think it's going to make any undesirable change to the neighborhood. Whether the request is substantial, it is usually, in this case, it is substantial because usually when we have a shed in the back and even it's 8x8, you have to have a 5x5 from the side. But because of what's going on in here, I don't see it to be that substantial. Whether a request will have adverse physical environment effect, it's not going to have effect. The applicant already figured a way to move it to the right so it does not have water issues to the neighbors. Whether alleged difficulty is self-created, it is in some ways self-created, but again, the applicant had some misleading from contractor, from different cities, towns, and so on, but they finally came and they're trying to get the application processed properly. For all these reasons, I make a motion, we approve it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Latif. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, it's John Hogue. I will second that motion. I would just note that, in my opinion, I don't believe that this was a self-created situation. I believe the applicant has acted in good faith and has acted diligently in responding to deficiencies that were noted with the contractor that was hired by a reputable organization. So I don't find this to be self-created, a self-created difficulty.
Okay. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Hoke,
Yes.
Mr. Latif,
Yes.
Mr. Stein,
Yes, for all the reasons stated.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes, I can't say for the reasons stated because there were, in my mind, a differing opinion. In fact, the matter is, as far as I'm concerned, either way, it doesn't change my vote. And in any event, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created is relevant but not determinative. So you got my vote, yes.
Mr. Antonikowski,
Yes.
Chairperson Frary.
I'm going to vote yes. I'm going to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I think that if truly we have a 2-inch side yard setback, I would say that that's probably as minimal as we can get. I think I applaud the applicant's efforts to get this back on track. And I agree with Mr. Hoke that I think we've got some problems with the contractor that made this a much more difficult process. So I vote yes, and your appeal is granted 7-0. Thank you and good luck with your project. Let's call the second case, please.
Appeal of Antonio Emery for a variance from section 220-25B1A of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskiuna as it applies to the property at 2124 Van Rensselaer Drive, Niskiuna, New York, located in the R2 Medium Density Residential Zoning District, to maintain a 6-foot fence in the side yard of the property exceeding the height limit in the side yard. Fence section 220-25B1A permits the maximum height for fences located in the front and side yards to be 4 feet. As constructed, a 6-foot high fence is located in the side yard. Therefore, a 2-foot fence height variance is required. 13 letters were sent out, 0 replies.
Is the applicant with us?
Yes, I am, sir.
Could you please introduce yourself, tell us where you live, and provide us a little overview of your request?
So my name is Avis Rodriguez. I live at 2124 Van Rensselaer Drive, Schenectady, New York. I am Antonio's wife. We own the property. We put in a pool during the pandemic. And we also requested a permit through the town of Niskiuna to put in a fence in the backyard. However, Because we spent the money on the pool, we didn't get to do the whole fence. We just did a piece of the fence. I'm gonna share my screen. Hold on a second.
Take your time.
Oh, yep, we can see it.
Okay, so this is the piece of the fence that I was able to replace. Now, it's supposed to be 4 feet, however, it's 6 feet, but if you can see, the 6 feet is, the 2 feet is see-through. Now, I'm gonna show you another picture. Where's the other picture I just sent to myself? Oh, man, I don't have the other one. Are you still seeing my screen?
Yes, we can.
1 second. Because if I show you that other picture, you'll see that it aligns perfectly with the neighbor's fence. 1 second, let me resend this to my other email. Okay, let's see if I get it. And resend, let's see, oh, there it is. It should be coming up on here because it came up on my phone. Okay. So you see, this is the neighbor's fence. This is what's over the limit right here. But if I cut this off, it's not gonna look nice.
Ms. Rodriguez, I think you're going to have to share a different, you can choose whether to share your whole screen or a window. We're still seeing the original picture.
Oh, hold on. 1 second, let me.
You'll have to unshare your screen and then decide either a window or your whole computer.
Okay, I'm opening the picture so you guys can see the whole picture as well. Hold on. Stop sharing. And then,
If you have a bunch, I would suggest sharing your whole screen. You have that option.
there you go. You see? Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the neighbor. This is me. If I cut this piece off, and that's what he wants me to do the inspector, cut this piece off, the fence is not gonna look nice.
I'm in the packet that was provided, grams, which were provided, and if I'm not stamped by the building department in June of 2020, which shows what with the back corner of your house.
You're cutting off, sir.
Submit something to the building department indicating that when this piece of fence that's at issue was going to be put up, it was going to be even with the back corner of your house?
I don't recall that because it was my husband that went to that one. So I don't recall.
Well, the
that.
issue is because this is 6
This is
feet,
the back
if
of
it's
my
anywhere
house. though.
full, the
This is the back of my house. This is, if you see,
From
this
the
is
rear
the
corner of your-
backyard. This is the backyard right here. Like, there's only like 3
right, you need to
feet
listen
of
to me a
house.
second though, ma'am. You need to listen to
Okay.
me a second. Ma'am, listen to me a second. I'm looking at the back corner of your house on the left side of the photograph, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's where the fence has to be if it's going to be 6 feet tall. Now, I understand your concern about the neighbor's fence, but I just want you to understand what the situation is. I'm also looking at a that piece of fence we just looked at was going to be your house, which means you wouldn't need a variance. You understand that?
Yeah, I understand that, but if I push this back, all the way back, it's gonna not look nice. Like even the inspector that came to see it.
Rodriguez?
Do you hear me? Hello? We have a bad connection. Hello?
That's okay, Ms. Rodriguez. He's frozen. The chairman's frozen
Okay.
currently.
So my
Rodriguez.
point is, like, even the inspector that came to see this, he even said to me, I understand why you did it this way because it just aligns with the neighbor's fence. Like if I were to push this back, it would not be aligned. It would not align at all. Like it would be like 3 feet out. Because it's 3 feet.
Can you hear me now?
That's what it is. Yes, I can hear you now, sir.
I apologize for the technical problem. I understand your concern that it's not going to look right. Why isn't this, if this was supposed to be a 4-foot fence, it appears from your neighbor's gate is approximately 4 feet. Why isn't your piece of fence 4 feet? Then you'd match your neighbor's fence.
Keith, you're coming in and out. If you don't mind, I could
You
add.
follow me?
Yeah, honestly, we put this fence because we have a pool right back there and we wanted a little bit of privacy. So that's why we put the
No,
6.
I understand that, but now, can you hear me, Ms. Rodriguez?
You keep going on and
Can
off.
you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, okay. The concern is if it's a 6-foot fence, it's got to be even with the back corner of the house. I understand your concern about the look of it. But the problem is there a reason this can't be 4 feet tall, which appears to be the same height as your neighbor's gate?
If I make this 4 feet, I'm gonna lose the privacy that the 2 feet gives me for the pool. Because the pool is like underneath the slope. So like, I don't know how to explain it to him. Like if we have a
Does the
4
backyard slope down?
Yeah, so if I cut this off, right, everyone is gonna see us
Yes.
swimming.
But if your backyard slopes down, that wouldn't be a problem because as it slopes down, you're going to gain some height.
No, the way it's situated, I wish I had another photo to show you. It's like, what? Yeah, we built a wall to align it in the back, but that has nothing to do with this. That's not a good example.
This fence is currently up, I guess, right?
Yes,
Who put it up?
my husband.
Did you get a building permit?
Yes, from you guys. We got a building permit. Yes. we did.
Okay. And were you advised by anybody that the fence in its location could not be 6 feet?
No, I didn't know because I considered this my backyard. I didn't.
Okay, but the problem is, ma'am, I say again, it appears the diagram submitted to the building department had this fence located off the back corner of your house, which would have been fine and you wouldn't have needed a variance. Why was it changed?
No, I don't know who. I guess the person that drew it wrong because this is exactly was the original plan from the beginning. I
Well,
mean,
who was the person that drew it?
I think it was my husband that drew it. And then over here, it's only 3 feet of house. Like right here, from here to here, is only 3 feet. So I would be moving this 3 feet.
I understand that, ma'am, but you understand if it's 6 feet tall, it has to be the rear corner, right? You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, other questions by the board?
Ms. Rodriguez, just to circle back, just to button that up. the application, the building permit application was submitted by your husband, Antonio Amory, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and he created the entire application, including the diagram on the back of the document, right?
yes.
And he put the fence at the back corner of the property because he knew that that's what the code required, correct?
No, he didn't know.
He didn't know. But you-
No,
but-
we just showed you, he just drew what we wanted to do. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure that if he would have known that, he wouldn't have done that.
Well, I
We
understand.
don't want to spend the
Hold on,
money.
Ms. Rodriguez,
we
wait
spent.
1 second. You just indicated that the reason that you put the fence where it currently is placed is because that's what you always intended to do. So I guess the disconnect
Yeah,
is,
because that's the way it was before. The only
Okay.
thing that
Ms. Rodriguez,
before,
I'm just,
it was another type of fence. We just changed the type of fence.
Ma'am, could you please listen to Mr. Hoke?
so
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, and you're indicating that you always plan to put the fence where it is right now, that you're indicating that you're replacing an existing fence that previously existed at the same location, correct?
Correct.
Right. So I guess the only thing that confuses me is why the application has a diagram that's completely consistent with the town code, but it's inconsistent with what you did. It's hard for me to believe that that was just a mistake, because it would seem like your husband would have made the diagram consistent with what both you and him wanted to have happen.
But I wish I could see the diagram that you're looking at, because I'm pretty sure that he drew this.
Well, I don't know if you could.
Laura,
can
can you
show
put
it.
that
Hold
up?
on.
Laura,
Yeah.
can you share
Yep, I'll put it
that
up.
up, please?
Like, who wants to spend money and then have to spend money again?
Well, ma'am, part of the problem is that you're required to comply with the zoning code.
I understand. So do you really think that we're gonna make this error on purpose? When you know how much money we spend on this? And then
I
if we have to
appreciate,
fix it,
ma'am,
we
I
have-
appreciate that, but as Mr. Hoke has indicated, we've got a diagram that was submitted to the building department that complied with the code. There's confusion why it wasn't built that way.
So it's up on the screen, and I'm just kind of circling the area that Mr. Hoke and Mr. Ferry are talking about. I know my cursor's a little small, but it's the right side of the house. That black line was the original building permit to come off the rear corner of the house.
And you see how that piece is hanging out? So that's, I see, I think it looks exactly what we have right now. It's exactly.
No,
what we
ma'am,
have.
that line where Laura's cursor is the rear of your house. And this is how it's built.
So then what is that line that goes from that other line? From that original line that says to the 5-3? What is that then? Isn't that the
That-
back of the house?
No, that's the plan. That's how the plan indicates, so it can tell you what the length of the house. Do you see the line on the left where it says 26 on the left of the house there? Do you see
Uh-huh.
that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the fence on the other side of your house, goes to the rear corner, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now when you go to the right side of your house, that's the opposite rear corner where that fence is. The plan that was approved, or the building permit was issued based on your fence going from the rear corner of the house on either side. But that's not how it was built. Now, if it was 4 feet tall, you wouldn't need a variance the way it's built.
Yeah, because the one that was there before that we replaced, it was one of those wired fence, and it was 4 feet. But it
Chain
was
link
right
fence,
there.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
it was right there in that same spot.
Well, that met the code. You don't, a 4-foot fence, you wouldn't need to take it to the corner of the rear corner of the house.
So there's no exception. I would have to redo this again.
what you would have to do is you would have to, and I'm not saying there's no exceptions. You're here to get an appeal. The board may grant your appeal when all the members have had a chance to review this. What I'm saying is, I'm just trying to clarify why the building department received one thing and something else was built.
It was
That's
a
all.
mistake. All I can say is it was an honest mistake from my part. My
Other-
husband is not here. He's working. I can't speak for him. I didn't do it, so I can't really.
So
And one thing I tell you, we're not gonna tell you guys one thing like on purpose to spend this kind of money and then have to fix this again. I don't see him doing that. I think that was an honest mistake.
Okay. Mr. Hoke, did you have more questions?
Yes, Mr. Rodriguez, just moving beyond that, you were describing behind the fence. What is, I can't see what's exactly behind the fence. Could you tell me is there a door or something behind the fence? Is there any kind of utilities? What is behind the fence?
Behind the fence is just my yard and a pool.
Immediately behind the fence let me be more specific. Behind the fence, between your fence and where the rear corner of your home is, what's back there? Is it level?
Yeah, that's level.
Okay. Is there anything that's there that would require the fence to be in? I mean, I understand why you put the fence where you put it, so it lined up with your neighbor's fence. But I'm just asking, is there anything behind that fence that would preclude you from moving it back?
No. Just money. That's it.
Well, you have an option besides moving it back, which is to do what the building inspector suggested, which was just to take the top portion of the fence off, right?
Yeah, and
Then you wouldn't
it's
have
gonna look nice.
I understand that's your position. Thank you. I don't have anything further.
Other questions by the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Ms. Pacheco?
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. As my colleague was trying to understand what's going on in the backyard, you did mention before that there's a slope in the back. I just want to make sure we're understanding properly. When you stand at the back of your house and you're looking to the backyard, is the ground sloping up or down away from your house?
Up, away from my house.
Okay, so you described that is there a pool in the backyard?
Yeah, but we had to excavate and make it level so we could put the pool there. But the rest of the yard is sloped.
Okay, so where the pool is located, and I know we don't see it on the application here, is it close to that fence? Like if someone were standing right at the fence and looking through the lattice work that's on the top, would they be able to see your pool looking straight back?
Yes.
And are you saying also that even though it was leveled out in the back, that the pool, the bottom of the pool, let's say the base of it is higher than at the back of the house?
So repeat that question. I didn't understand. That one.
Okay, so where the ground is at the back of your house, or even at the side of the house where the fence is sitting, does the ground go level to the pool, or does it slope up to the pool from where the fence is?
It's level, but it starts sloping like maybe I would say like 2 feet out. It'll start sloping.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions by the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I got a couple questions. Laura, if you can just put that picture of the fence back up there.
The
The
building.
plan or
drawing?
the picture?
No, the
Oh, I
picture.
can put it up. I have
Oh,
it.
you have it. Can you please put it up?
Yep.
I can bring up an aerial so you can see where the pool
That's
is as
okay.
well.
This is good. Question for you. The neighbor, I see their fence. Is this fence, how far is it from the back of their house? Like, you said yours is about 3 feet to the back. How about the neighbor?
No, because the neighbor does the neighbor's house ends right there?
Is that the,
Yeah, I think her house ends right there.
okay, so the end of the house is back there. So this is basically a gate, and Who put the fence in the back? You put the fence between your property and the neighbor's property?
The one in the middle,
Yes.
that was there when we bought the house.
So that fence was there, and that fence does stick out to the back of their property, but the back of their property is about 3 feet in to the back of your property, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so basically, even if you were to put that fence to the back of your property, you still have 3 feet of the neighbor's fence in the corner.
Yeah, it's gonna stick out. Hmm.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank
Any
you,
other
Mr. Chairman.
questions by the board?
Mr. Chairman, I have a request. I believe Ms. Robertson indicated she had available to us an overhead shot. For what it may be worth, I'd like to just see it.
Yes, I do. I think it just helps show where the pool is.
Thank you.
Unless there's questions, Ms. Rodriguez, can you stop sharing, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm gonna zoom in a little more. So it's a little fuzzy, but this is the fence in question. I think it might be a bright. I'm just gonna make it. I'm gonna make it a bright color so you guys can see it. That's the fence, and the pool is back here. This is the pool right there. I make it blue.
Good job on the visuals, Laura.
Thank you.
So does that seem accurate, Ms. Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Mr. Green, did you have other questions?
No, the look is worth 1,000 words. Any question I might have.
Any other questions by the board?
Yes, Chairman, I have another question.
Echo.
Seeing the image there, thank you. Ms. Rodriguez, if I were standing at the edge of the road, looking at your house, looking at that fence on the right-hand side, is the ground sloping up towards that fence from the road?
Yes. I'm on a slope from the beginning of the house, from the front of the house to the back. It slopes up. I'm on a slope.
Okay, so if you can describe for me, what can you currently see when you're standing at the street level? I have not visited the site, so I can't say from personal experience what you can see over the top of your fence, if there's any part of your backyard that's visible.
It is visible. Like if you're getting in the pool, when you're getting in and out of the pool, they still could see you from the outside, from the street.
And this is because it's an above-ground pool, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Other questions by the board?
Mr. Chair, this is Mr. Stein. I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Ma'am, is the fence on the other side of the house, is that 4 feet or 6 feet over there?
Which,
I'm sorry,
the one next to me?
the fence on the other side of your house, so to the, as we're looking at this photo that you're looking at too, on the left side of your house, the fence that faces the
That's
road.
4 feet. I never changed that one because we didn't have to. The pool's not on that side.
That's chain link fence, you said, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Understood. So this side is specifically just for the privacy because the pool's also on that side, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
And it's only like not even 10 feet, I think, wide. Maybe like 8 feet wide.
The fence that's is your entire backyard is fenced in, right?
Yes.
And is it all chain link fence except the part on the right side of the backyard?
Yep,
Okay, where does the chain link fence stop? Does it stop at the back right-hand corner as we're looking at this?
it stops right here. Let me share my screen. Can I share my screen real quick?
Sure.
So this, let me know when you guys see it.
We can see it.
Okay, so this whole side is the fence between my neighbor and the other neighbor and I, it's all 4 feet and it's all that.
Chain link.
Yes, and even in back of my yard, but they also have my back neighbors, the ones that are in the back, they have a 6-foot fence, so I have privacy there. And here, the trees give me privacy and on the other side, but there's no privacy here.
But it appears that if it's chain link fence and it's 4 feet, it's open to the neighbor's yard, right?
Yeah, but because we have trees in between us and that when the trees bloom, we have a lot of privacy, so they really can't see us.
Okay. Any other questions by the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard on this application? And if you could please stop sharing, Ms. Rodriguez. Thank you.
No problem.
Anyone in the audience or online? Hearing none, is there anyone who wishes to make a motion? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and move here. While I understand the situation that occurred, Ms. Rodriguez, I'm going to move that we deny the requested variance. There have been another number of options which have been posed by the board. Either moving the fence to the rear corner, which there doesn't appear to be any impediments, at least in terms of utilities, heat pumps, that kind of thing, which would impede on that. There's also an option of making this a 4-foot fence, which, based on the applicant's representations, this is a 6-foot fence because it matches the neighbor's fence, or at least aligns with the neighbor's fence. However, it appears from the photographs that were provided that the gate that's right next to the applicant's fence is 4 feet. There's also the issue that there was a representation, whether it was inadvertent or not. There's a representation that was made to the building department that this fence that's at issue, this section of fence, was going to align with the rear of the house and eliminate the need for a variance. So there are less restrictive or less other options which eliminate the need of the variance itself, a number of options. Is it going to change the character of the neighborhood? It does match to the neighbor's fence. However, there is a question. You have 1 4-foot gate, 1 6-foot fence. There's no environmental impact. I understand the applicant's concern about privacy, but it appears that there's chain link fence that surrounds at least 2/3 or 2/3 of the yard as it is. Is it substantial? This board has always held that the extra 2 feet of fence is substantial. And while it's not determinative, in my opinion, this is self-created. For those reasons, I'm going to move that we deny the variance. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I will second the motion. from my perspective, the two elements of the application that are the most important in my mind are that the variance will produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. And why I say that is that the code itself expresses a preference against having 6-foot fences outside of backyards. And we get these applications that are very similar to yours, Ms. Rodriguez, on a regular basis, and for the most part, absent, special circumstances, we typically do find that it does create an undesirable change in the neighborhood as expressed in the code, absent some special circumstance. And as Mr. Frary indicated, as a corollary to that, we do find that virtually all of these applications are substantial. So while I appreciate the basis for why you're seeking your variance with respect to privacy in the backyard, that is something that is routinely brought before this board, meaning most applicants, that is something that they articulate as the basis for their application. And I do appreciate that. But based upon the other two factors, I don't believe that that's substantial enough to outweigh the balancing of the factors that weigh, in my mind, against the application. So for those reasons, I second the application to deny the variance.
There's been a motion, there's been a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just got a question for Laura. The question is, that fence to me doesn't look like it's a typical 6-foot fence because you could see through it. Is that still applies here as a 6-foot fence, even you could see through it?
Yeah, even if it's lattice, it's still considered a 6-foot fence.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman.
You're welcome. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Hoke,
Yes.
Mr. Lataif,
I'm going to vote no, and the reason I'm voting no, I think the applicant, the placement where they put that fence, it seems to be more desirable to match with the neighbor fence. And there is a fence in the back from the neighbor, so it will look like a kitty corner having that fence pushed back 3 feet. So for me, I think that fence looked good where it is. And we have seen situation like this with unique properties, and we have allowed certain fences a couple feet away from the back of the houses.
Mr. Stein,
I'm also going to vote no. The part of the fence that's in violation is not extremely wide, so I actually don't feel that it is a substantial request. I don't find it to be undesirable. Because of the lattice work at the top of the fence, I don't see that the benefit could be achieved another way of getting some privacy from the road when the pool is directly behind that part of the yard. I don't see any environmental impact, and while the issue is self-created, it is not determinative. So again, I will vote no.
Ms. Pacheco,
I vote yes on the motion to deny, mostly for several factors, one of which being the original application that showed the fence in the correct location would have resulted in us not having to meet. So there, whether it was intentional or not, the building of it should have been very clear to everyone involved. I also find that there is no impediment clearly indicating a reason why the fence could not be where it was originally indicated to be built. So on that basis, I say yes.
Mr. Green,
I am voting yes on the motion to deny for the reasons stated.
Mr. Antonikowski,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Chairperson Frary.
I'm voting yes for all the reasons that have been stated. I'm sorry, ma'am, but your application is denied.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Let's read the third case.
Appeal of Stephen Flood for a variance from section 220-18B2 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskiuna as it applies to the property at 24 Laura Lane, Niskiuna, New York, located in the R2 medium density residential zoning district, to maintain a pool deck which exceeds the number of allowable accessory structures on a lot. Section 220-18B2 states that there shall be not more than 3 accessory structures on a lot. Currently, the property has a fence, a shed, an above-ground pool. As constructed, the pool deck is the 4th accessory structure. Therefore, a variance for 1 accessory structure is required. 9 letters were sent out, 1 reply.
Is the applicant with us?
I am.
Chairman, I'll read the letter into the record quickly, though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It states, Dear zoning board members, we are writing to support the appeal of Stephen Flood of 24 Laura Lane for a variance from section 220-18B2 to maintain a pool deck. As the homeowners next door, the structure is quite small and barely noticeable from our perspective. We have no concerns regarding the approval of this variance. Sincerely, Jason Ryan and Caroline Ryan, 22 Laura Lane, Niskiuna.
Mr. Flood, if you come forward, give us your name, your address, and tell us a little bit about your requested for a variance.
Sure. My name's Stephen Flood. I live at 24 Laura Lane. The reason for applying for the variance is due to just the way that our yard is set up. It does drop. It goes downhill towards my backyard. In my backyard right now, as has been said, we do have a fence around the perimeter of our property, and there is an above-ground pool in the backyard. The above-ground pool is slightly built into the hill of the property, and because of that, and I have 2 small children that play in the backyard regularly, I felt that it would add a layer of safety around the pool, just by having the deck in the position that it's in right now. I do apologize for meeting everybody in this manner. I wasn't aware that. I thought that because it wasn't attached to my house that I didn't need a permit for it. But when I received the letters from Linda, I believe, I felt that I acted promptly, and I do apologize for having to meet everybody here tonight, and I appreciate everything that you guys do. I can only imagine this process every week. If you do it every week, I don't know.
Mr. Flood, thank you. Quick question for you, or actually a point of order for Laura. The fence is around the entire backyard, and because of it, it's not next to the pool? Or is that just applied to in-ground pools?
Nope, that applies to above ground pools too. So because the fence isn't directly adjacent to the pool, it counts as an accessory structure.
Gotcha. Mr. Flood, I see where the pool and the proposed deck, where's the shed located?
The shed is, if you were standing in my backyard looking away from the house, is in the back left corner.
Okay. And the proposed deck is going to be in between the pool and the rear of your house, right?
That is correct. At the highest point, I should say it this way, where the pool is least exposed from the ground at its shortest height, it would only be about 2 feet above ground there. That's where the deck is placed.
And it's going to be right next to the pool? I mean, if not against it, right next to it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other questions by the board?
Yeah, if I can just hop in, has this been built or not?
Yes, it has.
So it's already in.
It is.
All right, so it's not, okay.
Mr. Hope?
Mr. Flood, just briefly, the shed is in use, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's in good repair?
I'm sorry?
It's in good repair, you use it? It's
Yeah.
not an antiquated structure or anything like that?
No.
And my
Other-
understanding, and just to clarify, my understanding is the purpose of having the deck is for safety reasons, and that would, otherwise, your children would be able to directly, or the concern would be your children would directly be able to access the pool because from the grade of the yard to the lip of the pool would not have a significant enough elevation differential, correct?
Mr. Flood? Uh, Ms. Robinson has presented an overhead view. Is that a fair and accurate representation of your property and the pool and the deck?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, for Laura, just so that I make sure I understand the requirements of decks and pools. I believe we have seen in the past when there are pools constructed above ground that if there is a deck attached to them, is that considered part of the pool structure?
It is not, because you can't actually attach the deck to the pool per building code. There's always a little bit of a gap. So above ground pools don't require a deck. You can maintain safety by removing the ladder. So when a deck is constructed for an above ground pool, it's considered an accessory structure.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions by the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience or online who wishes to speak to the application? Other than obviously we have the one letter from the neighbor. And just by the way, which side is that? If I'm facing your house, the neighbor who wrote a letter, which side of you is that neighbor on?
If you were standing in my backyard and facing my house,
Well, or
To the left.
actually, if I'm in your front yard on the street and I'm facing your house,
to the right.
okay. What about the neighbor to the left? Have you had any conversations with that neighbor?
Yes.
About
we
this?
talk regularly. They don't mind.
Okay,
And if I could just say one more thing about the way that
Sure.
the deck adds a level of safety to the pool. There is a railing all the way around the deck, and the stairs that go up that would allow access onto the deck to get into the pool has an automatic self-latching and locking gate on it as well. So it's
so the kids aren't able to get up onto the deck
Correct.
through the gate and onto the deck and could fall in the pool?
correct.
Any other questions for Mr. Flood? Hearing none, does anyone wish to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to approve the variance. The applicant has articulated that there isn't really a feasible alternative in this particular circumstance. While the code does contemplate that the applicant could have a ladder and remove the ladder, obviating the need for the deck in the particular circumstances we're talking about, the deck is needed for safety reasons. In addition, as we've routinely held with respect to accessory structures, the addition of one additional accessory structure where all the other structures on the property are in use is not something that we typically deem as substantial. From a view of the overhead view of the property that was put on the screen during the course of this hearing, it does appear that the deck certainly will not create an undesirable change in the neighborhood. It does look like it's a tasteful part of the landscape design of this particular property. I don't believe there's any adverse physical or environmental effects on the neighborhood. And although one could argue that this is self-created to a certain extent, I don't think so in this because virtually every application is self-created to a certain extent. But you could have chosen not to put up the pool. But in this particular circumstance, given the grading of the property, I think that it is certainly not determinative of the application. And I think it's just a minor factor to be considered in the context of this application. So for all those reasons, I move to approve the variance.
Thank you, Mr. Hoke. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Mr.
Hearing none,
Chairman,
I will second Mr. Hoke's motion for the reasons stated. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll. Whoop, I'm sorry. Any discussion? Nope. Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hoke,
Yes.
Mr. Latif,
I'm going to vote yes, and for all the reasons stated by Mr. Hoke, and I want to add that the applicant, you did a good job on explaining it and having a safety for your children.
Mr. Stein,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Mr. Green,
Yes, what's going on in my mind is, given the configuration, this is equal to or better than actually a ladder, I think. So while that strictly might not be one of the requirements here, I just, forgive me, it just seems like a little common sense to me. So for all the other reasons stated, in fact, I think this actually works out a little bit better with just a ladder, given the configuration of the land,
Yes.
given the safety factors concerning children and such. Yes, I vote yes.
Mr. Antonikowski,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Chairman Frary.
Yes, for all the reasons stated, your application is granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so I don't believe we have any other matters before the board. We have a meeting on May 17th. Is that right, Linda?
Yes, that's correct.
And I believe that we have, if I overheard correctly, we have a number of cases on for that day.
4.
3 or 4.
Okay, sounds good. If we have no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn
Motion.
and a second?
Yes, second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Mr.
All right,
Green, I
thank
gave
you.
the-
Thank you, Laura.
Mr.
for
Green,
putting-
I gave you the second on that. On the adjourn.
Thank you, Laura.